things. And that's maybe you would have to be calling for a new constituent assembly and redevise a new social compact and political compact in Lebanon. Whether this is going to take place, I'm not really sure.
It took the Lebanese people 10 months to put a cabinet formation together. How would that be if they want to amend the constitution?
The Lebanese parliamentarians were not able to reach a consensus or to an agreement. Lebanese people are also equally responsible. They voted these people into power, and they voted them repeatedly. So I really do not take kindly to the issue that the Lebanese are poor and they have nothing to do. They are as responsible as the people they have put in parliament.
So we have a problem at the base right
yes,
here.
Yes, we have a problem at the base, and for whatever reason that drive the Lebanese individual at the ballot box to vote for the same person and not vote out of office, nobody has been censured so far, as I can recall, out of office. Most people have been the incumbents have been reconducted, or the candidate, the new candidate who is part of the power that really make and call the shots in the electoral process are the people who.
But in case we reached a void, Dr. Hafez,
we don't have a void. We may have a vacancy at the president, but we don't have a political void because the executive powers are vested with the Council of Ministers. So there is no, from a constitutional point of view, there is no vacancy of power. There is a vacancy of position. That may really not sit very well with the Marwanites because they already have a weakened position. And now, without the president, that will not really sit well with them.
Well, Mr. Marwan,
I think it will not sit well with all the Lebanese people.
Well,
this is
a matter of debate.
This is a Lebanese president, and the constitution should be respected to elect a president.
I didn't see the outcry when President Lahoud left office and we stayed for several months. I don't think Lebanese lost any sleep over it. No, let's not exaggerate things.
Well, Mr. Marwan, in case of the position was not filled by the constitutional time that is granted for this filling of this position, and in case we go for parliamentary elections, do you foresee any kind of an amendment in the constitution to put out a new electoral law before the parliamentary elections, or is it just going to be the same old same?
I'm sure that a large group of the civil society and of political parties would like to pass a new electoral law before an early election. But it's all depending on the same establishment that I have doubt that they will agree on a new law. I think at this stage, what really we do care about is to respect the last of our democratical establishment. We are not really hoping by a parliamentary election to have newcomers, no, at all. But at least we would expect that the Lebanese people would say who they would like to vote for, and then this would be responded in the presidential election. We are not really hoping any major changes, and even if there's an electoral reform, to my opinion, made by those political leaders, we're not going to see major changes in the parliament. What I said with the early election of the parliament is not because the president is not important. I'm saying if there's a void in the president, then we shouldn't wait till those politicians to agree. We should go back to the street and ask the people to vote for a new parliament, and then have a new presidential election.
The question will be there, how much power does the people have in the streets?
And again, I think most of the Lebanese, or at least the group I represent, and I'm sure there's many similar to us, who would also disagree on amending the constitution to allow to or the general of the army to be elected candidate, to be elected president, or for the head of the central bank to be also elected president. We are fed up with the amendment done one time to elect specific candidates to the presidency. Again, I think I agree with your guess that maybe the Lebanese are not really are a bit responsible of the situation that it's happened, that is, we are in. But I think the whole situation is hard to the Lebanese people. The Lebanese people, I don't know if we do statistic how many followed the election of the Lebanese president yesterday. I think few have voted because few have faith in the establishment. At the end of the day, they go vote because they don't have any other choice. Once we have a third voice or an alternative, then maybe people would try to vote for a different establishment.
Well, some other people would think that a no vote would be a greater vote in the elections, but we have...
The problem, they don't count them.
We have to stop a bit right here and take our second break, and after the break we will continue to talk about the prospects of another consensus candidates for that matter, and whether or not actually an election will happen. But after the break, we'll be right back.
In the world of business, numbers tell truth. Investors seek startups and bankers provide loans. Stocks rise and fall. Traders anticipate shipments and cargo ships unload. But we at Al-Ittijah News spin the globe to bring you your weekly dose of business news.
Pollution and climate change, medicine manipulation, genetically modified food, the destruction of wildlife, and corporate exploitation. These are all part of the new terrorism threatening our future.
Eco-terrorism, global awakening to a world under threat.
We are back with the Middle East stream with Dr. Ziad Hafez, Secretary General of the Arab National Forum, and Mr. Marwan Maalouf, co-founder of Manajil Joumhouriya group. Dr. Hafez, going back to the candidates in this presidential, the runoff for the presidential elections, press reports have been claiming that General Michel Aoun, head of the Free Patriotic Movement in March 8th presidential candidate. Now, yet Mr. Aoun has said several times on TV interviews that he will not run as a candidate if he is not a consensus candidate. For one, and for second, he will not run if Samir Jaja, the Lebanese forces leader, runs. Now, why would he pose such conditions when Lebanon is supposedly claiming that it is a free and democratic country? I can't even say it right. So, I mean...
Because it is not real.
Exactly. I mean, anyone has a right to run for president, even if not everyone agrees on his nomination. So what is the political agenda behind such conditions for Mr. Aoun?
Well, because he wants to come with the support of everyone, as simple as that. Because if you don't have a general consensus to get the strong president to be able to implement whatever agenda he has, you must have the support of everyone. Now, with the kind of parliament composition we have, that's not the case. So either facts on the ground dictate to all factions that we need someone we will agree upon, or there is no president, as simple as that.
Well, Dr. Hafez, the March 8 coalition, which revolves around Hezbollah, in reality declared their candidate is General Michel Aoun. However, the latter...
but this is the ambiguity.
Exactly. He says, I'm not running. They said, this is our candidate if he runs. But my question here is that even if he is the candidate or if he runs, the latter, maybe he insists as being a consensus candidate, not only because he knows that the Lebanese president is made via an external consensus, but also because his alliance doesn't have the required 65 votes to become a president. Now, is that a reason why he recently showed openness to the future movement after a ferocious years-long confrontation with them? I mean, is there a secret deal that he might be striking, or even has struck a deal with the movement, especially with former Prime Minister Rafiq Hariri in that particular matter?
Saad al-Hariri, you mean?
Saad al-Hariri.
Because
it's a big deal, excuse me.
Well, that's a very good question. I think the change in political stance of General Aoun concerning his relationship with the Mustaqbal movement has drawn a lot of attention and could be either the result of a conviction that you cannot get elected without the support
Approval
of
of other
Mustaqbal,
movements.
or, and both are not mutually exclusive, that there is a general tendency regionally, internationally, to get there. So I don't think General Aoun has moved out of his own political willingness, but rather as a result of an analysis that he thinks is the accurate one, that the Western powers and regional powers would like to have him as a candidate, but that would require to come to an agreement with Al-Mustaqbal, and Al-Mustaqbal, in the person of Prime Minister Saad Hariri, may not be against that kind of a rapprochement because he has also his own agenda. So personal interest as well as regional interests are coming into play, and that could converge into defining what we call a consensus president in the person
in
of
that
President
matter, Dr. Hafez, Mr. Marwan, in the matter that Dr. Hafez is putting the entire deal there, I mean, if Aoun's reaching the presidency may force him to amend some of his positions to his full support for Hezbollah, for that matter, for the Islamic resistance of Hezbollah, and to stand at the same distance from all parties. So if a centrist president would keep Hezbollah's ally Aoun where he is and maintain the internal power balance in the country, why is Hezbollah nominating Mr. Aoun for presidency? Isn't that actually a risk for him?
No, I don't. I think the relationship between Hezbollah and the patriotic movement has now gone into a good history since the return of Michel Aoun to Lebanon, and the Lebanese patriotic movement have secured a certain national coverage for Hezbollah in Lebanon. So I think Michel Aoun, by sitting in a government with the other political parties, they're already kind of doing consensual agreements with the future movement, and we saw that with the formation of the new government. So I think maybe Michel Aoun by now knows, he's one of those who really know the Lebanese politics, and since he came back, it was clear that he's not doing any kind of resistance in the country, but rather running a political party which aims to get to power. And he managed at first to get 10 ministers, and now he's trying to reach the presidency. So I think he's playing the game, and he's playing it smart so far.
Well, Dr. Hafez, considering that Hezbollah would not approve, not to say allow, would not approve a president to come that would maybe endanger its position, whether in Lebanon or in Syria. And in the other case, the regional key players and the internal key players as well would not approve a president that will not be in a position that would stop Hezbollah from advancing more. How can we...
There you go. That's the issue.
Dilemma.
That's
How
why
can we
say
solve this big issue?
Well, it's not up to you and me to solve it. I think it is up to the regional players to come to an agreement. But I think the way things have been moving over the last few weeks or months, there is a tendency for all factions in the region to come to an understanding, whether on the Iranian side, whether on the Saudi side, whether on the Syrian side, whether on the American side, for all their own particular reasons, which may not be the same. They have come to that we are moving toward. This is the dynamic. I mean, we have not reached the final outcome yet, but the dynamic is toward reaching an understanding in order to maintain some form of stability in the region, because it has become too dangerous and spinning out of control for all parties concerned. That's why we managed to get the government. That's why we managed to get the ministerial declaration, and that's also how we managed to get what you call a security plan that has suddenly silenced the guns in Tripoli. And also it has also reduced the amount of bombings and car bombs that were taking place. So by a miracle, everything came into place. So that shows to what extent you have a control over your destiny or not. It is unfortunate, but you have to do the bidding of the people who have the power to create things on the ground, and this is where we are today.
So to get things straight here, no president unless a regional deal is struck, no security unless a regional deal is struck. So
Well,
where
the
is
security is in place
because
the
of a
regional-
certain deal? Exactly.
Now, whether the cherry on the cake will be the president, yes, I think it's going to happen. When, I can't really say, but I don't think it's going to be too long. We may be within the 25 May deadline, or it could be extended. That's not really a big issue. But at the end of the day, we are going to have a president.
Well, if we are going to have a president in Lebanon, in reality, both March 18 and March 14 need the votes of the Druze leader, Walid Jumblat, to
Yes.
win. And amid this current equilibrium, the simple math has made Jumblat the president maker and the president decider. Now, does this mean that he is the ultimate decider in this game?
With the present composition of parliament, yes.
He is.
Within the present composition of parliament, yes, because neither March 14 nor March 8 have the necessary votes without his votes, without his bloc, to get anyone into to Malta.
And we did see the same thing when Prime Minister Mikati was
Exactly.
announced, and when Jumblat took the side of Mikati, which made Saad al-Hariri
Yeah.
out of the game
Exactly.
until now.
Exactly.
So he is the ultimate decision maker.
With this present parliament, yes. Now, if you have a new parliament, it depends upon how are the electoral alliances going to take place. This is the result of the 2009 elections. Now, in 2009 elections, managed to get a split parliament with Mr. Jumblat being the decisive, casting the decisive vote.
He seems to be very comfortable with this position, doesn't he?
Whether he's comfortable or not, I think,
But
yes.
I mean, if he's the decisive person, he's the decision maker, how well do you, as a
He has been
analyst,
able
as
to
a
play very well
politician?
his cards, let's put it this way. Yeah, he has been dealt a set of cards, and he has played them quite correctly so far at the domestic level. He may not have been that successful in his regional endeavors, but at the domestic level, he has managed to play very well his cards.
Taken from this, Mr. Maalouf, do you think with the presence of such leaders in the parliament, do you think a certain electoral process can be altered or changed for the benefit of the Lebanese people in any upcoming parliamentary votes or parliamentary polls?
Sorry, I couldn't get your question.
With such leaders like Mr. Jumblat having to decide and big issues like these, not in particular him, but all the leaders,
Well,
do
it
you think that
happens
a
in
certain...
different countries, you know, like in a number of countries you have sometimes small parties that could play a role in forming a coalition government or a president. It depends on the results of the election. Today, Jumblat is the one who's playing the card of a political party that has a say in electing the president. The issue is that Mr. Jumblat changed opinions, so the people might have elected him as an 8th of March or as a 14th of March, and then he might change his political alliances accordingly. And since we didn't have really a recent election, so basically we are basing our presidential election on how the Lebanese people elected the parliament in 2009. So this is also problematic.
Let us
This
be here.
parliament was not able to agree upon an electoral law, and that's why
That's my question there, that even if they want to agree on an electoral law, there will be people like Mr. Jumblat who will be very much opposing of this new law, because they will actually just lose their positions.
But at the same time, it may create a different dynamic that the
Might
major
empower
blocs may come together and try to get an electoral law where they won't be at the mercy of a decisive vote. So it can go either way. I think this present parliament will not be able to deliver a new electoral law that will drastically change the composition of parliament. So
Maybe the region is not ready for that yet.
irrespective of the region, it is I think to a large extent, the electoral law is a Lebanese thing, not a regional thing. And the
But it's 100%
political elite-
based on the Taif Accord.
It doesn't matter, Taif or not Taif. We went back to the 1960 law, which has nothing to do with Taif, so it's irrelevant. But it is the interest of the political chieftains to maintain that kind of balance where they still retain the clout over the state. They are not really interested in building the state and state institutions because that will be competing with their, defeating their own self-interest. They want to have the people attached to them like an umbilical cord where the Zaim, the leader, will provide employment, will provide the hospitality, will provide the health, will provide
Education.
employment, anything, education, everything, and not the
state.
So if you have to rely on the will of these political chieftains, you're not going to have an electoral law that will be more representative of the composition of the country and will allow for the emergence of new leadership.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ziad Al-Hafez, Secretary General of the Arab National Forum, for being with us tonight. And special thanks to you, Mr. Marwan Maalouf, co-founder of Ajil al-Joumhouriya Group. Thank you very much. That was our show for tonight. Thank you for watching, and tune in next week for more from the Middle East Stream.